indigenous African foods. It is that specific, very specific in the common position. And so it was a call to member states to recognize that within our countries, diverse as the continent is, there are those crops that are nutritious, climate resistant, that we need to be able to promote. That's one. Number two, as a continent, we have a program called the Africa Seed and Biotechnology Program that is meant to promote both the production and utilization of traditional seeds, as well as improved seeds that are through conventional breeding methods, not the GMOs. But regarding to the specific number of seed banks, I don't have that information handy, but I can obtain it for you by contacting the colleague that is leading this program. Thank you.
Now, Director Esterin, you are welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll just add to what my brother, Director Baiwa, just said. So on the work that we do in the environment, particularly to support member states to implement the Biodiversity Convention, one of the key things that member states have to do under the National Biodiversity Strategy is to establish the seed banks in the context of the Program of Work on Agrobiodiversity. We have done some preliminary work, and in collaboration with the colleague at the Commission, to look at the state of seed banks and herbariums in the continent. Preliminary work is the last 5 to 10 years, the state of the seed banks have been not enough funding have gone to the seed banks, and a considerable effort is being made now to ensure that at country level, these seed banks are revived and given the kinds of capacity and funding that is necessary to keep them, let's say, play the role that you've all been saying since morning. So we need these seed banks to house our own indigenous seeds so that the conversation on our GMOs can be addressed in a manner that respond to the wish of member states. So yes, the seed banks are really important. Observation right now is under the biodiversity strategies. Member states have an obligation to create them, and we will be working as AUD and NEPAD and the Commission to support our member states to have them. Yeah.
Very short, because still we have another activity. Dr. Mike is going to.
So thank you once again for another opportunity. I just wanted to ask the director a question. When he talked about the solutions that we need to come up with, he came to the seeds and said that in the seeds aspect, we need to focus on the local and indigenous solution. I liked that. Now, I want to go to the animals, doctor. We understand that Chad has one of the most successful cattle herds on the African continent. And we read with the US Treasury actually advising its farmers, its companies, to bring vaccines and chemicals after admitting that Chad has been very successful in producing one of the biggest and most healthiest herds in the world. What is your take? Do we need chemical solutions? Do we need to continue to have vaccines? Or is there actually a secret and actually a success plan that has made Chad successful without the medicines and without the vaccines that the Americans now want to bring into?
Maybe you have more information than me on this subject, but the African Union has a specialized technical office called the Pan-African Veterinary Vaccine Center, ANVAC. It's actually based here in Ethiopia, 40 kilometers southeast of Addis Ababa in the Brazil. No vaccine comes on this continent and is applied to African animals without going through PANVAC. PANVAC tests and certifies all vaccines that come into the continent and make sure that they are safe for utilization, for vaccinating our animals. Secondly, that center also provides training in vaccine production. So again, it goes back to the same issue that I raised around GMOs and herbicides and pesticides. They need to invest on this continent in the production of the vaccines that are adaptable to our animals. This is something that is quite serious, because if multinational companies are able to make money by selling vaccines on this continent, by selling herbicides on this continent, why can't African businessmen invest on this continent in the production of those seeds, of those vaccines, and sell to the same population where the multinationals are selling? It's a business case that can be made. So we cannot run away from the responsibility of African business people, agribusiness entrepreneurs, to produce seed, vaccines, herbicides, and pesticides to sell on this continent. We cannot run away from it. It is a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think before we conclude, we come to Dr. Mayake, and this is the end of this press conference.
Mine is very quick, statistics. When you have a 1 trillion GDP economy, you don't import the same as a 15 trillion GDP economy. So the comparison between Africa and Europe is a bit shaky. Two, agricultural value added has increased significantly in the last 10 years. Free intra-Africa trade of agricultural product has been multiplied by 3 in the last 12 years. So there is a good narrative too. You see, there is a good narrative. So I'm just throwing the stats for you to know. Huh? And now it's my extreme pleasure between my powerful sister, Commissioner Sako, my dear sister, and powerful also Director Esterine, to launch this report.
This is Portuguese. Do you speak Portuguese?
Which, if you speak Portuguese, you can have it. It's in English, in Portuguese. It will be also in French, and it is a synthesis of all the achievements.
Can you sponsor me?
So can we just take a picture, congratulate Commissioner very warmly. I'm sure it will fly very high, and we are all happy to be part of this exceptional moment.
Look at the cameras.
Okay, let's look at the cameras. Okay, get closer. Ok, a luta continua.
A vitória é certa.
Ok.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Crisis, Ukraine and Russia, so we had to take measures. So all these, were very, very difficult moment up to now, because we have the inflation, economic inflation. People cannot even afford to buy these foods. So it is important to have you to interact with the media and see the importance of this sector. My department is the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, as well as sustainable environment. And you know that climate change is one of the challenges this sector is facing in terms of feeding its own continent. So the topic we choose is the CADEP Strategy and Action Plan 2026-2035. This is the new 10 years action plan. Since 2003, our head of state and government really puts agriculture as a priority. And then we had the Maputo Declaration. We concentrated more in food security and investing in agriculture, 10%. 10 years after, we saw that the continent still had a problem to implement, because what we want is to implement, the decisions of our head of state. So we had a lot of gap in terms of implementing the Maputo Declaration. Then in 2014, we came out with the Kampala, Maputo, and then Malabo Declaration. Came out with Malabo Declaration. Our head of states made a bold strategy with 7 commitments. A lot of progress was made, but we're not on track, on ending hunger by 2025. So that's why 10 years after the expiring of our Malabo Declaration, which is this year, last year, we started with my team, we started reshaping the new Kampala Declaration, which our head of state and government just endorsed it now in January 9 and 11 in Kampala. So we came out with a bolder concept, the strategy 2026-2035, with more inclusive. It was very inclusive, very equitable, and we had a lot of consultation at the regional level. So when we're shaping or drafting this our strategy, we really wanted it to be African-led strategy. We worked with my team, director is there, the head of division is there. We work with the 5 regional RECs, because this is our agenda, this is our priority, this is our policy. So let Africa say what we want, not people to say what they want for us. As an Pan-Africanism, and I'm proud to say I am a Pan-Africanist because I like my continent. I'm really a Pan-Africanist, so we made sure that this new strategy was really made by us. We included everybody. It was very consultative. People really help us, but we know that ending hunger, we cannot end alone. We also have, like Agenda 2063 tells us, we have to also build partnership. So with our partners, with their experience, so we are able to work together. But they are the partners that were working with us. They know that this is an agenda that Africa wants to make, and they should come and help us. That's why we came out with this important tool. And during the Kampala Declaration, Kampala's Extraordinary Summit, we came out with 2 main instruments or tools. We came out with the CADEP Strategy 2026-2035 and Action Plan. And we also came out with the Kampala Declaration, whereby at the policy level, our head of state committed themselves to see if we can really attain all the six strategic objectives that comes in our strategy. The first strategic pillar, it is intensifying sustainable food production, because we need to produce. By 2050, the Africa population will be 2.5 billion. What are we going to do to feed these people? By 2030 is almost 20 years to come, but the population is growing and growing. So that's why we have to intensify the sustainable food production. Under this, we have all the indicators, how to reach to achieve it. We have it in our own action plan. What are we going to do in order to intensify sustainable food production? And we also say, okay, processing is another area that we need to concentrate. And this, by industrialization, we are giving job opportunity to our youth. We are transforming our own food. We are opening markets, because today we have the IFCFTA. How are we going to market? We have to process our food, we have to industrialize, and we associated it with trade. This is our strategic pillar number 1, or objective. The second objective is boosting investment and financing for accelerated agri-foods system transformation. Here we are still keeping the values of Maputo Declaration, the 10%. We need to really mobilize investment in this area so that we can transform the agri-food system transformation. The 2 editions of the 2 decades, which is Malabo and Maputo, we did not focus more on the approach of agri-food system. We just stay in agriculture. But now we want a sustainable, resilient agri-food system. That is the new strategy. That's where we are going to concentrate and look at the value chain, because we cannot just say we are producing food. Which market? So we want an approach that the farmer has access to market. There is a demand, and the demand for food, we all know, is there. There's a market, because all of us, we go to supermarket, we go to the market to go and buy food. So it is really an area that we have to make it a business. We have to make it a business, not just a charity or humanitarian issues. Okay. The third pillar is ensuring food and nutrition security for all. Producing food is okay. What is the content of the value of that food in terms of nutrition? That's why Malabo did not focus on nutrition. But we have to make sure that the food we are producing is nutritious food, that our population are not sick, that we make sure that they have, the 3 square meal that is really good for their own health. So we're looking at it, because when we talk of nutrition, nutrition is a matter of agriculture, because it's the food we eat. So we can prevent diseases, when we produce good food for our population. The 4th one is advancing inclusive and equitable livelihoods. You know that 70% of our population are rural. They are poor farmers, and most of the labor there, it is women. So we need to include women on this conversation. So that's why we say inclusive, and we say inclusive and equitable. Women, because women parity. Women do a lot. They play a very important role, on the farm, but they are not really, empowered. That's why we put women, and we also put the youth to attract youth. And also, well, when we were trying to shape this one, we were talking about marginalized people, but during Kampala Declaration, they say it's not marginalized, but vulnerable people. But handicapped people, vulnerable people, we should include them in this conversation to navigate with us. And the 5th one is building resilient agri-food system. That's where we look at the nexus between environment and agriculture. What impact climate change does? We are rain-fed. Our model of production is rain-fed. Now with the drought, what type of resilient program that we can put, to support, to start continue producing even when there is drought? Yesterday we had I commend the Ethiopian government to organize the conference, the first conference on irrigation and food resilience, to produce a resilient food production. So that is why, even if we have drought, we have to make sure that farmers have access to irrigation. How do we do irrigation? Today, with technology, innovation, and science, we can achieve that. It's just a matter of the policy that we are putting in place, that we need to go through it. And the last one is strengthening the governance of agri-food system. That is accountability. It is in the Malabo Declaration is commitment number 7, accountability. Every year, every 2 years, this department produces the biannual review report. And this biannual review report and the scorecard is very important for us because there is no need of bringing such a strategy without us looking at what is the achievement or take stock, of what is being done. So during my tenure, I'm happy to really say that the first biannual review report was launched by me under my design with my team it's here. So it's very important, accountability. We need to account on what we do. That is why where we have the gap, you improve. If you don't account, if you don't go to member state, we have 55 member state. If you don't go to the 55 member state, how will you know that we're making progress? So all this is the Cadet Malabo Declaration. The paper is there. In the interest of time, I don't know if Dr. Mayaki and my sister would like also to give some insight on this conference before we can open to you. I also have what I did for my 8 years, my book, my achievement, and I'm really happy for all of you, the press, that you're carrying me along and to have served my continent. I'm very, very happy. Where I will be, I will always look at my continent first. Like Trump say America first, I say Africa first. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now the floor for Dr. Mayake. You are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to focus on the considerable achievements that you have made during your tenure. And I use the qualification of considerable because it is considerable. I mean, you moved the continent from the implementation of Malabo to the design of the Kampala strategy. So you covered 20 years of Africa's agricultural transformation. And you did it, and I'm a witness to that, having worked a little bit more than 6 years with you. You did it with tenacity. You did it with extreme motivation, with high competence, and with a sense of partnerships. And all these factors contributed to these achievements, which I call considerable. And now Africa has a substantial strategy, which is not only for agri-food systems transformation, but is also for industrialization. We tend to forget that the industrialization of this continent will come from agri-food systems transformation. And all what has to do with manufacturing, all what has to do with artificial intelligence, machine learning, digitalization, when it is inserted in agri-food systems transformation, will lead to industrialization. So you not only had an impact on agricultural transformation, you had an impact on blue economy, you had an impact on sustainable environment, and my sister, Director Estirin, will certainly refer to that. And these impacts, if you link them all, they reflect the achievements of the AU Commission as a whole, because this department is the biggest department of the African Union Commission. So the impact of this department has a consequence on every department's impact. It is the backbone of the African Union Commission strategy in CFTA, in health, etc. So really, I want to be short but incisive and clear. Warm congratulations for what you did with a fantastic team. and working as a team, delivering as a team, and having always, and I make a special mention of that spirit of Pan-Africanism, because the role of a commissioner, beyond being technical, is to also have a political dimension. And the content of a political dimension is exactly Pan-Africanism. So you leave a huge legacy, and our hope is that this legacy can be promoted, increased, enhanced, and still be implemented. And we will absolutely remember you as the commissioner who took us from Malabo to Kampala and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Strin, you are most welcome.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. It really is a huge honor and privilege for me to sit on this table with I call them my sister, but also my boss, so with my two bosses, Her Excellency Commissioner Joseph Asako and His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Asane Mayaki, whom, as you know, was the CEO of AUD and NEPAD. Really, I want to say huge congratulations to my dear sister, Commissioner Sako. I've worked with her for 8 years, and 8 years that has been very productive. 8 years I'm working with someone who is your boss, but brings herself to the level where you are very comfortable working with her. So it wasn't a boss relationship, but a relationship of sisterhood, supporting each other, because it can be challenging in this position, being a commissioner or the privilege of being a director in this in the AU system, in a mandate in covering a subject matter that is of immense importance to the continent. As Dr. Mayaki just said, she did not only cover agriculture and food security, but also environment, including, of course, climate change and the blue economy. So these are topical issues of critical relevance to the development of the continent. And I think she did it sterlingly. I will have to say, we talked today of African common positions in negotiations, which has really put visibility and bring visibility of the African continent and ensure that the African continent has hugely influenced the outcomes of global negotiations. Now, the common African positions were her ideas. You know, working with Dr. Mayaki, that was where we start developing African common position on critical negotiations. These things are not known, but if we are talking about her legacy, this has to be one of them. Today, we don't go to any negotiations, whether it's in agriculture, food system, or climate, without an African common position. And that has made African voice in the global arena very strong. So I really want us, you know, to give her that credibility, that recognition as part of her legacy. She mentioned the new tenets of Kampala Declaration and Action Plan. The one on inclusivity, I think, is one I really just want to highlight. Recognizing the importance of women and youth in agri-food system transformation in the continent. It's something that has been her passion, that she has supported. We have had the Women in Agribusiness Forum, which she has championed. I also would like really to take this opportunity to thank her for ensuring that we projected and gave such highlights on critical subject as this, because Africa is not going to transform if 51% of its population is not given the attention that is needed, and particularly in the field of agriculture and food systems, where we know 60 to 70% of the food that we eat in our households are produced by women, smallholder farmers. So it was of critical importance to give, that prominence to this a segment of our society. And just lastly, as Dr. Mayaki said, she took, from Kampala, from Maputo to Malabo, and now Kampala. I really have to say that she's giving us the next 10 years of agri-food system transformation in the continent. So whatever we are going to be doing the next 10 years has been shaped by Commissioner Sako and her team, including myself, from the side of African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, with, of course, the critical enable support from Dr. Mayaki as the food system envoy for the continent. So she leaves a huge legacy, but I also think she has a major influence on the future, because Kampala Declaration, Strategy and Action Plan is the future for the continent, the next 10 years, to give us the Africa that we want. So thank you so much, Commissioner, my dear sister, for the privilege of having worked with you and for really being someone that I've looked up to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now the floor is open for dear colleagues in the media. The commissioner took us through the Kampala Declaration and 6 pillars of the declaration, and she spoke a lot. So please introduce yourself if you have any questions. As an institution, media institution you are working for, and please, questions are. The floor is yours, please.
Madame le commissaire, nous vous remercions pour votre propos. Il a été clair, explicite. Nous saluons vos efforts à la tête de la commission. Et nous avons cependant un sujet qui nous inquiète. À quel niveau avez-vous laissé le secteur agricole africain et à quel moment pensez-vous que finalement l'Afrique aura atteint son autosuffisance alimentaire? Vous êtes renseigné sur les multiples projets. Qu'est-ce qui sera? Dans combien de temps nous sortirons des sacs de riz de la Thaïlande, du blé ukrainien qui semble-t-il alimente tout le continent, de tout ce qui nous a été raconté ces derniers temps? À quel moment pensez-vous que tout cela va s'arrêter, que l'Afrique va prendre son destin en main? Merci.
Je ne sais pas si je vous réponds en français ou en anglais. Il y a la traduction. Je suis plus à l'aise en anglais. Vous comprenez l'anglais? Oui, je comprends, mais j'aurais un effort à faire. OK. Non, je peux parler en anglais. Est-ce qu'il y a une traduction?
Yes, there is.
OK. Donc, merci pour la question qui était très pertinente. C'est vrai que je laisse l'Union africaine avec sentiment de mission accomplie. Parce qu'ici à l'Union africaine, nous ne sommes pas une agence d'exécution de projets, mais nous sommes une agence qui formule, qui élabore le programme, les politiques communes, comme a dit ma sœur Estérine. Donc nous, c'est la politique. Parce que si on ne s'organise pas, on n'aura pas atteint nos objectifs. Il faut une vision, et la vision est faite ici. Donc, je suis contente que je laisse un instrument qui est la stratégie des CADEP, de CADEP, qui est très connu en anglais, des CADEP, le PPA. Donc, c'est cette stratégie-là, c'est une stratégie de 10 années. Elle a des indicateurs. comment les 6 piliers, les 6 piliers peuvent être mis en œuvre. Et quand tu mets en œuvre ces 6 piliers, hein, parce qu'aujourd'hui, avec mon départ, ce n'est pas inventer un programme, comme on dit en anglais. We are not here to invent the wheel. The wheel is there. Whether they like it or not, the new elected commissioner is supposed to follow, to implement what our head of state. I did not invent it. It is demand-driven. It is our continent, our cadre, our scientists that shaped that document. So what I'm happy is that for us to mobilize, today there is a new order. You saw what Trump is doing, people that depend on UN, USID, that was really very supportive in this department. But today, we don't have it. So it is time, momentum, that people should take, Africa should take the destinies in their hand. They should not come and sell this instrument, which is the Kampala Declaration. They should implement it. If they implement wherever I would be, I'll be very happy. At least the way we shaped it for 1 year, we know that if we align, the first thing is to look at how can we domesticate that
Unatazama Sound Candy Talk Live. At Sound Candy Talk, we provide live UHD broadcasting for church services, talk shows and podcasts, weddings, live band, products and services launches, webinars and trainings, Zoom meetings, conferences, seminars, exhibitions, and virtual concerts. You are watching Sound Candy Talk Live.